I think most of you have joined before, but just a refresher, as part of the Just Urban Transitions project, we are interested in unpacking what the just transition in South Africa means at the local scale, and particularly the role of local government in that transition and the risks and opportunities that local governments face as they connect up to the provincial and national level of planning, and of course, insofar as their reach into their constituencies, into local communities, which also, of course, includes workers who are affected by the transition as well. This particular session is the second of its kind, so it's focused on coal-affected municipalities, and we've started in Mpumalanga province. The last session that we had focused on Steve Tshweti municipality, and this particular session will be focusing on Emalahleni municipality, and we're very, very happy to have colleagues from the municipality join us this morning. I'm not going to give too much away because they will be introduced by our facilitator, Louise Goltz from WWF. This series of webinars is a partnership between WWF, SALGA, and the Just Urban Transitions project. And as most of you know, we're extremely open to shaping future sessions in partnership with everybody that is working in the space and is paying attention to these really critical issues that are sometimes not entirely visible when we consider the transition at the aggregate scale, at the national scale. So without further ado, I am going to hand over to Untitled from SALGA to give us an introduction and to kick things off. So, Untitled, over to you. And you're on mute.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you very much. And good morning, colleagues. I see the names that I haven't seen in a while. It's exciting to see everyone. So, colleagues, I welcome you from SALGA. My name is Untitled. I am welcoming you from SALGA on this webinar, a very critical part of the work that we are doing together with Lauren and Louise, the team from TIDS, and Louise from ADAPT, together with SALGA. We have been doing this work for quite a while, trying to organize some interactive sessions with municipalities to try and really get a headway under the work of the just energy transition, especially in the coal-affected areas. And not only that, I think the transition is not just about coal transition, but the transition is more on quite a lot of things that are happening in the energy space. Yes, I think the focus mostly when you say just, you are talking about just in terms of the sources that we've been using for quite a while, moving to other sources, more cleaner sources. But obviously, we know that we have been doing, as a country, we have been offering work and jobs to the citizens of South Africa through the coal sector, which has been a very critical, integral part of the energy industry in the country, which it still is. But obviously, as all of us here are also aware of the IRP 2019, which is quite very thorough in terms of some of the plants, the coal plants that are going to be decommissioned in Mpumalanga. And we know what that means for the citizens in Mpumalanga, especially for municipalities, because all this transition, decommissioning and closing down of power stations is going to affect a lot the municipalities, the economies of municipalities, and the municipalities really need to adapt to the changes that are taking place. Unemployment is going to be affecting the municipalities themselves as well. A lot of challenges are going to be facing municipalities, and we really have to be proactive in terms of the input that we are making into the policy around how the just energy transition should look like. We have to also make some critical input into the transition of the municipalities themselves on how they should handle the challenges that may come due to the decommissioning or the changing of the energy environment into cleaner environment. Obviously, we're going to see, if we don't manage this quite well, we're going to see a lot of ghost towns, like it has happened with mining. We see a lot of ghost towns due to mining that have moved out. All these mining towns have been pushing or have been offering jobs to people in those towns. And some of those towns, they are predominantly developed due to mining, and all the economies that were there in those towns were due to that. So basically, after the mining left, it's left devastation, lot of job loss, unemployment, increasing in crimes in some areas. And SALCA has been trying to do a project called Small Town Regeneration, and because of exactly what we are talking about. And I think the small town regeneration is going to be also an integral part of the just energy transition, especially in Mpumalanga, because some of the towns that are having these power stations in ESCOM are actually the towns that are very small, but also predominantly the people who live there are working in the ESCOM power stations, are working in the coal power stations. But at the end of the day, everything that is in place in a municipal jurisdiction. So eventually everything goes back to the municipality. And hence we see this very critical that we have these conversations. We assist the municipalities with the sharing of information, all the affected local government or entities to be part of this very, very important topic to assist those municipalities to be ready to adapt to these changes, and also to ensure that also they are flexible when the changes and the challenges are coming. So basically, I'm sure that you do have the agenda and the invitation. It articulates the desired outcomes of these webinars quite clearly, maybe even more than I've been doing in my introduction. But all in all, I would like to welcome you. Maybe a few things that I need to do is to also try to share a few logistics, because obviously we are in a virtual meeting. We won't be able to do any introductions to everyone. It's a lot of us. We only have less than 2 hours now, so we don't have 2 hours anymore. So please, if you can, place your name, name and surname, organization, email address on the chat box of the virtual meeting, so that we know who is here for actually sending off all the other documents that might be discussed in this event. So please do that. In terms of the engagements of the webinar, please keep yourself muted. Raise your hand if you want to come in and ask a question or make an input. And I'm sure all of us by now, we know all the drill about the virtual meetings. If you see that your hands cannot be seen, just please try not to be disruptive, but maybe find a very creative way of chipping in to make your inputs. So with that, I would like to also again welcome you and thank you for making your time to be part of this webinar. And I hope you have a fruitful and very helpful engagements, especially to those affected municipalities. I hope that this webinar really assists you in the challenges that you are about to face, or in the challenges that you are already facing around the just energy transition. So thank you very much, Lauren. May I hand it back to you? Thank you, colleagues. Have a good day and have a good webinar.
Great, thank you, Silas. Sorry, I'm missing Silas. He's not on this call. Thank you, Nhlanhla. And all protocols observed. Thank you for keeping us in line. I'm going to just hand straight over to Louise Goltz, who's going to be facilitating this discussion for us.
Thank you, Nhlanhla, for the welcome, and Lauren, I think, for the very good context setting. We're going to kickstart off this session with a representation from Errol Nkabindi, the Acting Executive Director, Environmental and Waste Management at Emalahleni, and then Mike Lelaka, who is the Director of Technical Services from the same municipality. The Technical Services Directorate is responsible for provision of basic services, drinking water, sewer services, electrical services, road and stormwater, and it's also charged within the municipality for the overall responsibility to plan, develop, operate and maintain all the engineering service infrastructure throughout the area of jurisdiction of the municipality. Now, as we all know, Emalahleni is, of course, one of those municipalities whose economy will be severely impacted by the closure of coal-related activities as South Africa moves to its low-carbon transition. But of course, in addition, as a coal-effective municipality, there's also the pressing issue of mine rehabilitation and water management that needs to be addressed. And then in that context, and given this manifold of challenges, we've invited the municipality to share with us a presentation that focuses on the interface between water availability and quality, energy and related service delivery, challenges and any other existing work underway. After this presentation, there will be an opportunity for two respondents, Gayle Montmason Claire from TIPS. I think everybody knows him by now, but I will introduce him before his session, as well as Carla Hudson from the Impact Catalyst in Mpumalanga. I'm going to ask that we kick off with a presentation. Has Mr. Lelaka joined yet? Otherwise, I'm going to ask Mr. Nkabindi to kick off if he's able to. Errol, are you able to?
Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to present the profile of the municipality in terms of environmental management as well as waste management. Let me just download my presentation. Can everybody see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
You can. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity once again. As mentioned, my name is Emalahleni Nkabindi. I'm the Acting Executive Director. I'm responsible for environmental and waste management at Emalahleni Local Municipality.
Errol, just quickly, sorry, not to interrupt you, could you just make your slides presentation mode? Otherwise, it's very small, and we can see your series of slides on the left-hand side of the screen.
And how is it now?
No, it's still the same.
It's good now.
Excellent. Thank you.
Is it fine now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. All right. My presentation outline will focus on just giving a synopsis of the situational analysis of the municipality. Then I'll also look at the mandate of the Department of Environmental and Waste Management in terms of the legislative prescripts, the functions of the department. objectives of the department, as extracted from our IDP, look at the strategic challenges that are faced by the department, measures taken by the municipality or the department to mitigate environmental impact, and environmental management performance plans of the department. Firstly, let me talk to the profile of the municipality. The municipality, Emalahleni Local Municipality, is one of the 6 municipalities which are located within the Nkangala District municipality. The municipality has a population of 455, 228,000. I beg your pardon. 455,228. This information comes from State South Africa, which I believe this is not the correct figure. There's a different picture altogether in terms of the numbers, because this states it comes from the community survey of 2016, as well as the census of 2011. Our population increased by 59,700, with a total growth rate of 3.2% per annum between the period 2011 and 2016. The current estimates, they are well above the 500,000. This figure, it's coming from the IDP. This is a figure for 2019, and it is projected to be at 707,000 by 2030, with an increase of 12.8% between 2019 and 2030. But we still believe that the 707,000 could be a small figure. The population could go well above that figure. We are the 3rd largest population within the province, and we represent about 31.5% of the total population in the district. With the exponential growth, which mainly is caused by migrant workers and people coming from other provinces to look for job opportunities in the province, the municipality also faces backlogs in terms of service delivery because of the eruption of informal settlements, land invasion, and many other social problems. So as a result of that, the municipality is unable to provide the necessary service delivery services, because it cannot commensurate the exponential growth with the provision of resources. In terms of the informal dwellings, we had an increase of between 2011 and 2016 in terms of Stats SA, an increase of from 23,000 to 34,000, and currently the figure is standing at 54,000 informal dwellings within the municipality, and this represents the highest municipality with. It represents the municipality with the highest number of informal settlements in the district. The housing population, if you look at the figure on your right, it's standing at 150,420 in terms of the 2016 stats, but the current figure, it's quite well above that number, as at 2021. So this also represents 35% of the total households in the Kangala district. In terms of the economy of the municipality, it contributes about 52% of the local economy. The mining sector contributes about 52% of the local economy. And again, in terms of our air quality management plan, mining was identified as the second largest source of air pollution in the municipality. That will come then after your industrial sources. Some of the challenges that are faced with the conglomeration of mines in the area, it's environmental degradation, biodiversity loss in the municipality, and other related problems of mining, which I'm still going to unpack in my next slides. We have seen an eruption of mining. Our mines are mostly concentrated on the central and the southern portions of the municipality, but we have also seen a huge eruption of mining on the northern parts of the municipality, which in terms of our spatial development framework, it's those parts forms part of the residential development trajectory of the municipality. In terms of the unemployment rate of the municipality, we have seen a decrease from 27% in 2011 to 25% in 2015, and a slight increase in 2016 in terms of unemployment, which also represent the fifth lowest among all municipalities in the province. Here I just gave a table of municipalities within the district, which also shows, the green column shows the contribution of industries within Emalahleni in terms of the district's economy. If we zoom into the department, looking at the mandate of the department, obviously it gets its mandates from the Constitution, Section 152 as well as Section 156, Part B, Schedule 4 and 5 of the Constitution, and it further gets mandates from your national legislation and municipal bylaws. On your the figure on your right shows some of the legislative prescripts where the department derives its mandate. Its core functions mainly are environmental management and compliance, parks, cemeteries, and public open spaces, as well as waste management. The key functions within the department, these are not exhaustive, but we're doing licensing and control of businesses that are regulated in terms of the Mpumalanga Business Act. We investigate complaints relating to environmental management violation that will include noise and air pollution. We also facilitate the adoption of illegal dumping to ensure a clean and healthy environment. Emalahleni has over 350 public open spaces which are used as illegal dumping spots. So we are trying to eradicate gradually those illegal dumping spots by ensuring community participation in adopting those illegal dumping spots. And I must say that we are doing well in terms of that, because most of the illegal dumping spots where illegal was taking place have been adopted and have been sustained as such. We also do the control of public nuisances, which emanates from residential as well as business premises. We also do water quality monitoring. We also deal with the facilitation of recycling of waste amongst communities as well as businesses, our landfill sites, and so on. We do also education and awareness. What is also very important to us, especially in terms of the challenges which are triggered by mining activities, is that we also do review of land development applications. And we also, in terms of the EIA, as well as the Mpumalanga Biodiversity Sector Plan, and then we do also monitoring of those land development activities to ensure that there's compliance with environmental management legislation. We do conduct inspections and investigations where there's a need for us to issue fines and notices. We do likewise, we issue those fines and notices. We develop policies and relevant sector plans and bylaws to ensure good governance. We develop symmetries and maintain those symmetries to an extent that we can, given the fact that we are also faced with a shortage of resources. We do park maintenance and development of public open spaces into parks. There's quite a number of parks that we have developed since 2016, as well as waste collection and transportation and disposal of functions. I'm not going to go through all the IDP objectives because I'm mindful of the time that is allocated to me. But in terms of the objectives of the department, which are derived from the IDP, we need to increase visibility and enforcement of environmental management bylaws. We need to reduce impact on climate change through developing and implementing a climate change strategy for the municipality. We need to create a sustainable culture in the handling, collection, transportation, disposal, and management of waste. We need to create a sustainable recycling and reuse culture within the municipality, and ensure compliance to all environmental statutory requirements, promote good governance through the development and implementation of environmental tools, enhance public participation by ensuring community takes ownership of their environment, to improve human dignity with burial system, to ensure and maintain effective risk management system. So the right column indicates the programs and projects that we have implemented in ensuring that we achieve the objectives, the IDP objectives, as indicated on the left-hand column. But what is perhaps of a critical, maybe just to mention in terms of the projects, is that we have managed to develop and implement most of the environmental management bylaws since 2016, and we are currently implementing those bylaws to address some of the challenges or problems that are experienced. But in addition to that, we also have developed a recycling policy, and we have a data of all your formal and informal recyclers which are operating within the municipality, and we also ensure that your formal recycling companies are providing the municipality with statistics of the volumes of waste that they have recycled, and that information is then fed into the National Waste Information System. In terms of access to waste management, there's approximately 70% of our households who have access, and most of these households are situated within the established area of Emalahleni, but you still have townships, newly developed townships, as well as informal settlements, which are not accessing your campsite refuse collection. But instead, we use the mass container system, which is regarded as a minimum level of service. Yeah, maybe we need to move to the next slide. In terms of the key strategies, challenges that are faced by the municipality, one of the challenges is the poor air quality, biomass burning, its rife, industrial pollution, vehicle and domestic pollution are quite rife within the municipality, but there are plans and there are also programs that we are implementing from the side of the municipality to ensure that we mitigate the impact of these sources, pollution sources. The other key challenge is the poor water quality, physical, chemical, and biological qualities, especially the fact that our water sources lies within the Upper Olifants catchment area, which is heavily contaminated by mining activities are along the catchment area. We also have, as a challenge, the poor maintenance of our environmental infrastructure, in particular our landfill sites, which sometimes are not well maintained, as well as illegal dumping that is blocking our stormwater drainage channels, and also lying within your driveways and streets and public open spaces. But we are implementing measures, as I've indicated earlier, of dealing with the illegal dumping. The environmental decay due to mining activities, I think I have spoken at length about that, but land degradation, the closure of mines and abandoned mines, they are scattered all over the municipality. Some of them have not been rehabilitated, and you sometimes find residential dwellings on top of these mine dams. This is also something I will just quickly show you the picture as I proceed with the presentation. There's also a sinkhole formations which are distributed, especially in the informal settlements of All Coronation and Ligazi. Subsidence of the ground, underground fires, your seepage, your acid mine drainage, biodiversity loss, air pollution. Those are typical challenges that we experience as a municipality with regards to mining operations within the jurisdiction of the municipality. The last challenge would be the non-compliance with environmental legislation, of course. I have some of the pictures here, illegal dumping, industrial sources of pollution on your right. Bottom left, you have some of the youth formation which have adopted a spot which used to be an illegal dumping spot, and it's converted either into a park or food gardens, or a car wash spot, something like that, just to sustain those particular spots. In the middle picture, you have one of the adopted spot, which lies along a very busy street in one of the townships of Emalahleni. It looks now beautiful. This used to be an illegal dumping spot. On your extreme right, noise pollution, it's one of the main or common challenges that we face as a department. Fortunately, we have all the necessary tools to deal with such a problem of noise.
Mr. Nakabindi, can I ask you to start closing your presentation? Yeah, I just want to make sure we've got enough time for discussion afterwards.
But this picture, this slide shows you the extent of the damage that is caused by mining and mining activities, unrehabilitated. What you see on your left, the smoke, it shows the underground fires that are coming from these areas, and then burning fires, sinkholes. This sinkhole lies within a human settlement of Old Coronation. This is what is happening with areas where the mines or the dams have not been rehabilitated. You find people working on those abandoned mines, trying to salvage whatever coal that they may come across. But there's also on your bottom right an extract of the newspaper which talks about the mining on my background. Above, acid mine drainage. On number 8 there you have those houses which are right on top of the mine dump. In addressing, as a municipality, what we're currently doing in addressing the impact of mining and other environmental challenges, we enforce the spatial development framework when we comment on the IE applications submitted to the municipality. We also do routine inspections for land use uses, and we also comment on application in terms of environmental authorization. The other thing that we normally do, though it's a bit costly and a very lengthy process for the municipality, it's when we do an agent application to stop mining operation. So we actually tend to shun using this measure because of the costs that are involved. But if a mine is opened right within a residential area, this is the only route that we can be able to take. Then we also implement and enforce our bylaws. We also do joint inspection. We have developed an inventory for our Section 23 listed activities. I'm not going to go through the plans of the department, but I think some of the plans I've already mentioned, issues of recycling, establishment of waste transfer station and composting plants, development of integrated environmental management framework, mayoral cleanup campaign, awareness campaigns, and so on. Yeah, this is my last slide, and thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nakabindi, I think for a very thorough overview of the challenges that your municipality is facing and some of the measures that you are implementing to address those. I'm not going to allow for questions now. I would rather that we have a dedicated discussion, question and answer session later. I'm going to hand over now to the two discussants. The first is Gaylor Montmason-Clare. I think he probably needs no introduction. He's a senior economist from TIPS, who leads the organization's work on sustainable growth and the just transition. And our second respondent is Ms. Carla Hudson from the Mulanga Impact Catalyst. So I've asked both of them firstly to provide a high-level overview of how the organization is contributing towards a just transition in the entire region. Secondly, and given the challenges faced by Emalahleni and really mostly mining-related degradation, environment, biodiversity loss, poor water quality, pollution, coupled with socioeconomic issues, I would like their input on how their work in particular can support municipalities in general, but also particularly Emalahleni. And lastly, and this speaks to the issue of government, different tiers of government not working in alignment, how their work can potentially support such alignment. So both Gaylor and Carla has worked extensively in the region. So I'm looking forward to their insights and their inputs. And once they've done that, we'll open the session for discussion. Gaylor and Carla, both of you have 10 minutes each. And Gaylor, if you can kickstart the discussion. And Mr. Nkabindi, if you can just stop sharing your screen, please.
Great, thanks so much, Louise, and thanks again for the invitation to be here this morning. And really, I welcome the presentation. I think that was very thorough and a really great overview of the situation in the municipality, particularly of, I think, the current challenges that were very well depicted. So I'm not going to talk about those. I think a very comprehensive overview, and then of some of the challenges, some of the measures that are being put in place to address those challenges. I was asked to respond to the input, so I didn't prepare anything structured, but the first thing I'll say is that, of course, as you pointed out, Louise, I mean, we've been working quite extensively as an organization around just transition issues, and including in Mpumalanga, particularly in Steve Tshwete and Emalahleni. We've got a current initiative in collaboration with Naledi, Groundwork, and PETA, and looking at just transition in Emalahleni and Steve Tshwete. Really to try and support local views emerging and really trying to get some solutions that are coming forward from the ground up, from the local level, rather than from Pretoria, or from the top down. And we also work extensively at national level, most of late with the Presidential Climate Commission, to try and develop a just transition framework for South Africa. And I think it's really important when we do that work that it's, again, not a top-down exercise that's going to be driven by a commission or a national department, and that doesn't speak to the local realities. Of course, the process is driven by national dynamics, but it has to speak to local realities, and I think that's really important, and to engage with this reality on the ground of what is happening in Emalahleni, specifically, being the primary hotspot when it comes to the transition that we are experiencing at the moment. If we look at the very thorough input that was made, I think for me it was quite striking that there is a really great understanding of the challenges that are on the ground. Of course, coming from one particular perspective of environmental management and waste management. So it's only one part of the overall picture, but that picture is very well understood. And for me, that's something that I want to give a little bit of comfort to our colleagues from the municipality that they actually are well equipped and they really understand the challenges that they deal with, and they need to find a way to communicate that to national level dynamics, and certainly the tools that are available are also relatively well understood, and how they can be harnessed. So for me, it's really important to kind of communicate that quite strongly. Often I hear when we talk to municipal colleagues, say, well, we're not really understanding what just transition is about. And then once people start talking, well, you may not put a word on it, but actually you're very much talking about just transition through and through. And I think that's really important to acknowledge. Also, maybe just as I said, the challenges, I think, or the liabilities that the municipality has are well explained. We also need to look at, as we turn our attention to just transition, the assets that are available. And certainly, Emalahleni and Mpumalanga overall has a very young and dynamic population. It is a growing population, as it was pointed out. It comes with challenges, of course, in terms of service delivery, but it does bring a good skills base, really a lot of dynamism, and that's quite important when we think about the future of the province. Of course, there's also tremendous amount of infrastructure in the province that can be leveraged. Some of that has been highlighted. Is about maybe turning some of our existing liabilities, like our abandoned mine or mine land that has been degraded, into an asset. And how do we do that? Is really by focusing on mine rehabilitation, and ensuring that actually is a way to really can link up to other industries as well, waste management, agriculture, renewable energy, fuel, tourism, whatever that may be. And for me, it's quite critical because we have to not see those as only liabilities. Yes, they are liabilities and they need to be taken care of, but they actually can be turned into assets. And there's many other infrastructure that are present in the country, of course, and in Emalahleni, specifically around the grid, the roads, the rail, even the water supply, and many others, which can be leveraged to develop those new opportunities, and certainly to speak to the presentation, anything around waste management, circular economy, the development of water services, even through the rollout maybe of next generation sanitation, which are more kind of circular ways of thinking about waste management and wastewater management specifically. There are lots of really opportunities that we can explore and at least better understand what can be done. Once more, I think in terms of turning, kind of a liability into an asset, is that yes, we know municipal resources are constraints, and certainly if we compare the municipal revenues per capita, Emalahleni is below average in terms of the resources that are being given to the municipality. But the flip side of that is that there is a huge amount of spotlight on Mpumalanga and certainly on Emalahleni at the moment. And we had climate envoys last week in the country who really just want to dish money to South Africa in some shape or form. And I think there's an opportunity to raise a lot of money for Mpumalanga, but specifically for Emalahleni, because as I've told colleagues in the province, Mpumalanga is probably the most famous province in the climate world at this point in time. I think everybody in the world knows about it. So there is an opportunity at the moment to try and leverage those dynamics really. And that's by keeping an open mind and really to try and look at the opportunities, to go beyond an issue of saying, all right, of course, do my service delivery, of course, manage any sort of negative impacts, around mining activities, the competition between mining and other land usages, which was clearly highlighted, and any other kind of core, I would think, municipal function, to have a forward-looking view that says, how can we then foster the development of new economic opportunities, of course, within each department. And here it's really about keeping an open mind. There are opportunities, I would argue, in virtually every sector. Certainly from a waste and a waste economy perspective, there are lots of opportunities that can be developed. In terms of environmental management, issues around natural resource management and rehabilitation are critical, and link up to other opportunities. But once you start looking at the waste and sort of natural resource management economy, you tie into almost every sector. You tie into things like coal ash. You really tie into land rehabilitation, water quality, and the rollout of particular technologies and projects, agriculture overall, of course, and the broader kind of public service delivery. So there's really a wide array of opportunities that can be identified, and I think it's really important that we do that work quite thoroughly in identifying those opportunities for the municipality, for each of the departments. Of course, we're not expecting one department to be able to unlock a lot of the opportunities. I think I'm probably very quickly running out of time, but some of the tools that can be done are of course using existing municipal tools to do that, particularly the tools for local economic development. Planning is one. We've had a really great presentation around what's being done around plans and making sure that there's a critical amount of interventions that are being implemented to address some of the problems. We also need to plan for the long-term vision. What is the vision for the municipality going forward? What are the steps to implement that? Of course, regulation is another leg, and how do we enforce those regulations? We all know it's much easier to write the regulations and pass them than to enforce them, and there are challenges around this. So what can then maybe the province, but also national government, do to support the municipalities to enforce those regulations, particularly when you're sitting in almost catch-22 situations sometimes, and it's really hard to go and enforce those regulations. Then it's really about how do you leverage the budgets and the sort of the existing spending of the municipality, the procurement, but overall the existing fiscal model, which we know is difficult for municipalities, but it has some leg room that can be leveraged, particularly around procurement, investment in infrastructure, and how can we use that to then trigger really those new opportunities, and really supporting a particular shift in terms of upskilling, bringing, and fostering of opportunities. And then lastly, because for me it was really important, some of the point that came through on public participation, human dignity. We talk a lot, in the just transition about having an inclusive process. It's really important, and to be honest, this is going to materialize at municipal level. Having a truly inclusive process at national level is not going to work. I mean, we need to be inclusive at national level, but it's really going to really materialize at the local level. So really great to see that, of course, the municipality is already doing a lot in that particular space around public participation and so forth. But certainly we're going to need dedicated channels to make sure that we have that consultation at the municipal level.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Mark.
So that's really some of the things that I think can be brought up, and really focusing more on, I guess, the opportunities that are being put forward or thought through, and some of the tools that can be harnessed to do that. Yeah. Thanks. You're muted, Liz.
Thank you, Galo. I think for a very positive input, touching on the future opportunities for Emalahleni, and also touching on the existing tools that are already available for them to start addressing some of the challenges. I'm now going to hand over to Carla Hudson. She is the Provincial Operations Manager for the Mpumalanga Impact Catalyst. Carla's previous home was the Mine Water Coordinating Body, so I'm sure she's going to have lots of very valuable and interesting insights, particularly around existing water infrastructure challenges and water quality challenges in Emalahleni. So without any further ado, over to you, Carla.
Thank you very much, Louise. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. So yeah, I'm actually going to start with the reason why the Mine Water Coordinating Body was formed in 2016. And that was exactly, as mentioned before by a previous speaker, is the worry of the pollution levels in the upper Olifants, which is actually having a huge impact on the lower and middle Olifants. And then also it actually has a cross-boundary impact onto Mozambique. So we've had discussions with USAID that works with emerging farmers in Mozambique. And the pollution from the upper Olifants is actually having an effect there. And that's actually how I met Louise, because we started talking about projects that WWF was doing in the middle Olifants and how we can look at the pollution coming from the upper Olifants. So it was formed by all the major coal miners at that stage, which was Anglo, Glencore, Exxaro, and in partnership with Eskom, and then as well as with national and provincial government. And it grew really well. And we had, of course, DMRE and DWS on board. And just talking about the issue of permitting and legislation, this opened actually the opportunity to have conversations between private sector and national and provincial permitting and legislation requirements. And I'm sure you're aware that the DMRE has recently released their national closure strategy for comment, and it will hopefully go to Parliament quite soon. You've seen the new financial provisions for mine closure that's falling under NEMLA 4. And then, of course, there's a new mine water regulation that falls under the National Water Act. So those conversations has been very fruitful, and there's been an understanding and trust built between the mining sector, Eskom, and then provincial and national government on these issues on mine closure. Because sometimes, you know, you're sitting with huge problems and people feel powerless. They don't know how to actually deal with it. So under the new national closure strategy, it's very specific on that closure has to be sustainable. That means it has to incorporate all three legs of sustainability, which one of them very importantly is community engagement and understanding the community very well. And I will come to the projects that we've actually developed with the understanding of the community, as well as international entities like ICMM and other countries that's got similar problems. This is not just a South African problem. This is a worldwide mining problem and a climate change issue. So from there, we've actually then, from the 1st of January of this year, we joined the Impact Catalyst, which was actually operational in Limpopo and in the Northern Cape with their partners, so that the Impact Catalyst can actually go into Mpumalanga. And we brought in partners like the CSIR, the IDC, the DTIC, the DST. So huge collaboration that's taking, because nobody can do that alone. I mean, that was the realization in 2016. It's not just a municipality or a single mine or a province that is responsible for this. It's a collective effort, and that's why we've also started talking to people like AgriSA, Agribiz, Coca-Cola, Tiger Brands, Pick n Pay. So we're looking at the whole value chain So the projects that we're actually doing at the moment, so it started in 2016. The first project we had was under directive with DWS, irrigation with mine water at Mafubi Colliery, which is a JV between Exara and Anglo at that stage. Anglo is now represented by Tungela in Mpumalanga, as I'm sure you know. To test, to pilot a 20-year research on irrigation of mine water. And this project has been hugely successful. We learned extensive lessons, and that documentation, the lessons and the recommendations is actually in front of Parliament as we speak. It was managed by the WRC. So we also have partnerships with WRC, Coltech. So really we want to talk to everybody and see what is a usable solution to, I'm going to call it a just transition and not just a just energy transition, because we realize that it is a transition out of poverty. So we have to look at it holistically from a sanitation point of view, from a skills development point of view, and then very much a value chain development. So just specifically, the Impact Catalyst at the moment is looking at developing fresh fruit markets, fruit and veg markets, because we've seen there's a huge problem with emerging farmers. They have to travel 200, 300 kilometers to actually sell their produce, which then either the produce is not as fresh as desired and it doesn't sell properly, or it just brings the profit margin a very narrow pressure. So we're trying to bring that closer to the community. The other project that we're very much involved with is municipality capacitation through the CSIR. There is a big project at the moment at Emalahleni, and seeing how we can assist with the capacity building at Emalahleni. Then we're very involved in the DDM process that just has finished. And then we recently in August, we actually launched a Mpumalanga Vision 2045 workshop to actually look at how can we plan with the provincial government and a one plan. I'm sure that's what everybody wants, that the private sector, the public sector, the communities, everybody actually works together. So because we've seen that the SLP planning and the ESP planning from private sector is not aligned with municipalities, and there's no communication of actually bringing these plans together. And I think that is a big problem, because I think there is enough funding available, but we just need to talk to each other and actually align these projects. So that's why we've spoken to the Department of Basic Education in Mpumalanga, as well as the National Youth Development Agency, to actually see what is necessary, where, because everybody's talking about 4IR and new technologies and new jobs, but we really need to understand what is these new jobs, and really need to understand how the community can be brought into these new jobs. So just for example, there's a project, the Sal Club Spruit Wetland Rehabilitation Project, that's been doing very successfully. So bringing the community in and skill the community in rehab, because it's not just in Mpumalanga that these skills will be required. And I mean, it's not a short-term rehabilitation. We've seen now with the irrigation of mine water project in Mafubi, it takes a long time. And if you can actually transfer those skills to the community, and also if you irrigate with mine water, or you do projects on rehabilitated land, it has to be monitored. So you can actually skill the youth in developing apps, dashboards for reporting, for auditing. So you need soil sampling, water sampling, air pollution sampling, crop sampling, and having that collaboration with the communities, and then a commercial farmer, because that's what we've done at Mafubi, because farming is a business, and somebody needs to take your hand. And then if you actually work with rehabilitated land and mine water, it's a very difficult business. So we're partnering with commercial farmers so that we can have these partnerships and help with the small scale farmer to become more profitable. So we're actually in the process of we're doing a project at Glencore at Wonderfontein as well with 3 emerging farmers and using the rehab land at Glencore. We're looking now, so we're actually working with an Australian company and Kellogg's, because Kellogg's are very interested in zinc fortified wheat, because that is unfortunately a problem in Africa, that the children is zinc deficient and that causes diarrhea. So they would like to bring that into their cereals. So we're actually piloting a project at Wonderfontein, and this morning we actually had a discussion on how we're going to commercialize this. And one project that's come up, and it's a big concern. South 32 is now Sariti, and Sariti has got the Ritspreid project that closed, I think, in 2008, and the water is becoming a huge liability. Really good quality water. So we're actually going to have a discussion relatively soon in how that water can be used in agriculture or industrial use. So we've got the concept of fit for purpose use for that water to empower the community. So we're really looking at that. So in other projects that we're looking at is we are looking at Brookspruit, which is in the Emalahleni area, which has actually been classified as the most polluted area in the world by the ICMM, International Council for Mining and Metals. And we're looking at the Brookspruit Pollution Control Works that was built in 1992, and unfortunately, in all this time, has only been functional for 2 years. And then there's 3 wastewater treatment works that is also not functionally optimal. So we have been mandated by the Department of Water Affairs to actually look at a regional solution to this. So we're talking to people like AECI, Aqua Matters. I actually had a meeting yesterday with Water Care Mining to look at how we can actually solve the water problem there, and then obviously the whole chain that comes from there. So we've got Cromdry on board, Greenside on board, Samancor is there, Highveld Steel. So it's a collaborative effort to look at what we can do in that region to empower the community to get involved in this whole rehab process, and making sure that there is environmental rehabilitation as well, then economic possibilities that flows out of that. So Aqua Matters is looking at the groundwater pollution plume, because I mean we're sitting there with 150 years of pollution, so it's definitely sitting in the groundwater. So seeing if we can do in situ groundwater rehabilitation. Then AECI is going to look at the surface infrastructure to see what is, the actual problem, the extent of the problem. So that's the kind of projects that we're looking at that actually makes a regional difference with water and the community as the center. Then the other project that we're looking with the Department of Environmental Affairs is alien vegetation. It's actually a wonderful project because if you remove alien vegetation, the byproducts of that is you get land and you get water. Surface water starts flowing again. So alien vegetation, I'm sure you know of the green hydrogen project at Sasol and Secunda. I was actually there quite recently, and we spoke to the Danish embassy about how we can actually do this biomass project in collaboration with alien vegetation removal, and then of course the forestry, because the forestry industry is also struggling at the moment. It seems like if mining goes down, the forestry industry goes down, because obviously the wood gets supplied to the mines for support. It's really, you need to look at all the options. So we've spoken to Sasol. They need 250 million tons of biomass a year to feed this monster. So we can look at opportunities, especially on rehab land, and that we've spoken to the University of Pretoria and University of Cape Town. Let's see which areas is not conducive to agriculture or human food or cattle feed, and make those land into biomass producing land, and use mine water for that. So we've actually got quite a few projects, and we're working with working for water at the DFFE with this project, but we need economies of scale, so we need to do it regionally. We've spoken actually to the Ndebele Royal Kingdom, and they're quite keen. They've got 350,000 hectares of land that's been laying fallow for 25 years. So we really need to start doing land management there and land rehabilitation. Sorry, I see Louise is getting itsy, talking a lot. So we're looking at collaboration on the tire refurbishing. So the new national Waste Management Act on tires will be out in November, and it's very mentioned that 60% of tires has to be reused or recycled in some way, and then only 40% can go to tire pyrolysis. But also it needs economy of scale. But I mean, places like the Northern Cape, and I'm sure Mpumalanga has got heaps of tires, and that's why we've been speaking to Coca-Cola, Tiger Brands, South African breweries. South African breweries is very interested in yellow maize, also very interested in rehab land and mine water production of yellow maize for beer. So that's another project. We're looking at mobile plastic rehab, recycling stations that creates biodiesel, but we need economies of scale so we can put up a refining plant for that biodiesel. So we need to start rolling that out. Then, yeah, so I think I've covered everything. So thanks, Louise.
Well, thank you, Carla. I mean, I think it's impressive the width and breadth of projects that you are involved in already. Maybe before I open the discussion for questions and inputs, you've listed a wide range of projects, different in scope, different in focus. If you had to focus on one or two, what would you think would be the critical ones to focus on immediately? Because all of us only have two hands, and of course there is funding out there, but that funding must be accessed. So maybe just a bit of prioritization. You muted. No, you muted.
My turn to be muted. Apologies. No, so our biggest focus is irrigation with mine water at the moment, because it's actually of national concern, because obviously the gold mines, the platinum mines, the base metal mines all have got excess water, and obviously we have a water problem in South Africa. So how this all started was actually through the SWPN, where we wanted to look at the water gap, the 17% water gap, the 2030 17% water gap. So that is seen as one of the solutions to actually help with water security, and then definitely also with food security. So that is the one main focus, and then very much the other focus is alien vegetation. We have got a huge encroachment and alien vegetation problem in South Africa, which is actually drying up our surface water, and it is taking away land. WWF actually had a very, very successful project in the Eastern Cape, where they removed, in partnership with Working with Water, and it was like a miracle when they started removing those alien vegetation. Just very quickly, just to make you understand what the significance is of alien vegetation, one eucalyptus tree drinks 380 liters of water a day, and an elephant drinks 80 liters. So you can have nearly 4 elephants for one eucalyptus tree. So if you can have 4 elephants, you can have tourism, and you can get them. So it's really, really important from a sustainability perspective to control alien vegetation. And it doesn't just stop with alien vegetation removal. It is a whole land management plan, because you have to make sure that that alien vegetation doesn't come back. And you also have to make sure, because if you remove the alien vegetation, the land is obviously poor. Because that alien vegetation has removed all the nutrients, and the whole soil structure is different. So to get the community involved in actually rehabilitating that soil to an economic status. So that will be my two important. And then we really have a problem with tires and plastic, and that's an opportunity that we can realize, because people like Michelin, Dunlop, all the companies are very keen. The mining companies, it's a real liability for them. They're literally, I mean, at Kumba, there is literally a mountain of tires. And I'm sure it's the same in Mpumalanga, and it's becoming a problem for the municipalities, because there is no storage facilities, and the technology is there. The tire pyrolysis is there, the recycling technology is there, and the reuse, making roof tiles, making children playground equipment, which is all skills which the community can actually get involved.
Thank you. Now I'm going to call back Gaylor. Gaylor, maybe it is an opportunity for you to what you see as the critical intervention. And I want to ask the panelists to actually both be on the screen so that it's a bit more of an engaging discussion. So Carla, if you can come back on the screen, and Mr. Nikabinda, maybe you as well, if you've got the bandwidth. So Gaylor, what do you see as the one critical intervention? And then I'm going to open it for discussion. I know there's people on the call that's also worked in Mpumalanga. I'm sure they have responses to the inputs of Gaylor and Carla and Emalahleni itself. I'm looking forward to a nice, robust discussion. So Gaylor, your thoughts.
Thanks, Louise. The million-dollar question. I must say, very impressive with what Carla has just listed in terms of all the interventions. And look, we all know there's no silver bullet. But if I had to choose one particular intervention, I think certainly it would be more on mine rehabilitation and the linkages with that. Simply because it's really one type of intervention that has so many benefits. You're dealing with an environmental legacy problem. You're dealing with social legacy problems. You're rehabilitating for the future. It's really labor intensive. You cannot move those jobs somewhere else. I mean, it's tied to a specific location, and it's so many linkages with water, with waste, with agriculture, with fuel, with food security, whatever you want. So if I had to choose one, and acknowledging fully that this is not going to solve all the problems, but if you force me to choose one, that's probably what I would go for and focus on, simply because of all those linkages and the fact that really that's such a critical intervention that we cannot afford not to do. There's others on the side where maybe you say, well, maybe that's a good intervention, let's look at it, it could work, it could not work. Mine rehabilitation, it's not an option. It has to be done, So for me, that's where I think we should put a lot of emphasis. And I know that, the province is putting a lot of emphasis on that. The municipalities are putting a lot of emphasis. And certainly the FFE is putting a lot of emphasis on this as well at national level. Both for, well, actually for me, it's threefold. What about, and I saw it was in the presentation briefly, our DEROs, our derelict and ownerless mines, so that legacy problems, we still have 6,000 abandoned mines in the country. So it's really a crucial opportunity to deal with this, and that's full within the state. I mean, let's just be realistic, the state will have to pay for that. Then it's about, also starting rehabilitation for the ongoing mining activities. We tend to wait until it's too late. So what can be done while we actually, operate, which is a legal requirement, by the way, which is often not done, but it is a legal requirement. And then, of course, in the closure mechanisms. So for me, yeah, I would leave it at this, but that's probably where I would put my money if I had a very limited pot of money.
Now, I know that I must open the floor for questions, but I see Carla wants the right to respond. So maybe if we're going to have a bit of a debate, it's also good. Over to you, Carla, quickly.
Thanks, Gaylor. That was the big problem. Subsequent mine rehabilitation under the DMRE Act was that the DMRE didn't actually recognize concurrent rehabilitation, and that's why nobody did it, because especially in the Platinum Belt where the mines have 6, 7 headgears and shafts and things, and then they closed 3, and then DMRE said, well, sorry, we're not interested, we will wait till you completely finish. So that was the whole mind shift that we also had to talk to DMRE about and say, listen, you have to recognize concurrent, and you have to give, because the big fight at the moment is that the mines has got these financial provisions under the environmental rehab fund that's sitting under DMRE, and lots of these mining companies feel that they're actually paying twice for rehabilitation because they've given the assurances, they've given the funding, some of them actually put in cash, and then they have to do the rehabilitation on operational cost, which normally they don't have because they've already budgeted for it to, so that was the big, and I mean that conversation is still happening, is that you need to have a recognition for concurrent rehabilitation, and I think that has now sunk in, and that is part of the new national strategy. So I just wanted to mention that I can understand. I mean, it's not the right thing to do is to rehabilitate as you mine, but I can also understand from the mine's point of view is that they sometimes just don't have the finances because the finances is locked up in this rehab fund that doesn't get released.
So at that point, I'm going to open the discussion to the floor. Can I see any hands? And I know there's many people on this call that have actually worked in the region, so it would be interesting to get their responses, their feedback, their insights on what Gaylor and Carla shared. Lauren, I see your hand is up.
Yes, thank you to all our presenters and discussants. I have a question for Mr. Nkabinde. I mean, we've heard some comments from Carla and from Gaylor thinking about what possible sort of priorities exist for some of the challenges that he outlined to respond to those. And I was just wondering what his reflections are on the two perspectives that we've now heard of the options that are on the table.
Mr. Nkabinde, over to you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the question. Thank you very much, Carla, for your presentation. Very, very impressive presentation. Maybe just before I come to your question, your project, you made mention of quite a number of projects that you are currently working on, and most of these projects are going to take place within municipalities. I just wanted to establish how municipalities get involved in those projects. Are you inviting them to these meetings? What exactly are they supposed to be doing in terms of, coming on board and be part of the whole process going forward? The other issue is you also spoke about the alien vegetation removal. I just wanted to know from your side as to how can your organization, the Impact and Catalyst, assist the municipality in terms of eradicating your alien vegetation within the municipality. Coming back to your question, I'm not sure whether Mr. Laka is also going to present because there are also quite a number of critical issues that which I feel is important for this session, especially in relation to your renewable energy as well as your water issues. In terms of your prioritization of project, currently our department has conducted a Section 78 study to establish exactly what are our main challenges when it comes to issues of waste management, and also to establish as to whether is it possible for us to create sort of an integrated waste management system, which is kind of a model of a smart city where you integrate all the components of waste management. You take recycling, your storage, your waste to energy, all those things, you put them together. So out of that study, there were quite a number of recommendations which are very impressive and important for us. And currently we are starting, we have started actually with the distribution of your 240 liter bins as a pilot project in one of the towns in Emalahleni. This project is earmarked to enhance recycling as well as to provide, adequate space for communities or households to store their waste, and that will also eliminate or reduce the challenge of illegal dumping. The other project, in terms of your integrated waste management, we are looking at establishing the waste transfer stations, and we fortunately had the getting assistance from the local mines for establishing 2 waste transfer stations. Probably there will be more in the future, but for this financial year, we are looking at 2 waste transfer stations. And also looking at establishing drop-off centers, which will then fit into your waste transfer stations and as well as your buyback centers. So we're looking at, in the current financial year, we're looking at establishing about 10 drop-off centers. By doing so, we shall be enabling communities to have access to waste recycling facilities within the municipality. And this is also part of your job creation and poverty alleviation type of a project. Your last question in terms of from the presentation by Carla, in terms of which project do we find it to be viable for us, as a department. I think all of those projects are quite critical and very important for us. But I will be very much interested in the tire project as well, because I think we've got quite a large number of old tires, and which also create a challenge for us, because some of these tires are being burned, during the night to retrieve the metal out of them. So they then also exacerbate the problem of, air pollution in the area. Yeah, I think this is what I can be able to say.
Thank you, Mr. Leone, for very thorough input. Peter, I see your hand, but Mr. Lilaka has also joined us now, and I was wondering whether this isn't opportune time for him perhaps to provide some input. Mr. Lilaka, maybe some comments on the inputs from Galo and Carla. I'm not sure whether you want to go over into a formal presentation now, perhaps with some high-level thoughts from your end.
Thank you so very much, Carla, and then a very good afternoon to all the panelists and the organizers, and as well as fellow colleagues from the municipality. Once again, I would like to render my apologies. I had some council committees that I had to sit in and facilitate them in a form of Section 8 and Section 79. Unfortunately, this is why I could not join in at that particular time. Once again, my apologies for that. Having said that, yes, we have had the comments and inputs from the colleagues. We really do appreciate the presentations that have been made, and moreover, so that they provide both the insight and as well as progress in terms of programs and projects that they are currently busy with in aiding us as municipalities going forward. But as for my presentation is concerned, yes, I forwarded to Mel Lauren. And then safe to say that as Nkabinde has alluded to, which I would imagine that is some of the issues that have already been picked up there, as they already have been seen within the JET the JET program from Eskom. However, safe to say that insofar as infrastructure-related basic services are concerned within the municipality, this particular urban transition has got, amongst others, the following impact and challenges and risks. And I'll just only be talking at them.
Mr. Sorry, Mr. Lelaka, can I ask you to screen your share so we can see your face?
You want to see me?
Yes, please. Excellent. You must just tilt your camera a bit. Perfect. Now we know who we're talking to. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. As I just mentioned today, I'll just be talking about what we see as a municipality so far as transition risks and challenges that would be facing the municipality, of which you believe that some of them have already been been mentioned in both the presentation and that of of Nkabinde. Socio-economic impact in terms of the quality of life, in terms of out-migration and employment, those are the most prominent ones that we are seeing that are happening. But however, we have got some other former mining companies like your Risprait in our locality that is happening where now we've got quite a number of challenges. When you look in terms of the data that we have got with Eskom, their consumption levels across all the services of the municipality, it's hideous and it's increasingly, and they just cannot afford it. That is one challenge. The rate at which social ills are taking place in that particular locality is hideous as well. So that's why we say that the reskilling, the rehabilitation, and then as well as the access towards that particular rehabilitation fund that some colleagues have referred to, it really needs to be enacted as a matter of agency in terms of reskilling, opening up some opportunities for those communities there, industrialization and localization within that particular community that is there. Societal integration is one of the challenges that as and when they come into the broader community of Emalahleni and the like, the issue around them being responsible for the payment of services, that paradigm shift is not as yet have sunk in terms of them being responsible for that. Moreover, so it's in terms of water supply schemes that we are having currently as a municipality. We do have got the Anglo Coal, now the Twingela mine here. We've got the Glencore that's supporting our provision of water services to the communities of Paula Office and as well as to the broader and greater Emalahleni area. So as and when those mining activities are no longer there, that will have an impact in terms of that. Additional thereunto, the additional support that we're getting from these mining companies. We have just been donated a laboratory somewhere around in town here from Anglo Coal. So those are some of the support and the things that we need there. We all are aware of the number of operations of Eskom in here. There's about 5 power stations which are coal-driven, and as well as about 43 mining activities as underpinned by 23 mining companies in our vicinity. The next one is about the economy, community sustainability and stability of those particular communities there. That's where the challenge, we see the challenge. Non-payment of services is very bad there. And then the introduction of the renewable energies and new technologies and the like, we are not so sure as yet as in terms of the tariffs that are going to be coming out at and whether it's going to be affordable to the communities and the like. As we all are aware about our unemployment rate, which is about 29%, and that of national being at about 44%. The poverty levels that is so big, and as well as our Gini coefficient, that's a bit of a challenge here. And we're seeing that as it will be burdening the municipalities, as those communities are going to now be dependent on the municipality, burdening the national government in terms of the increased national government support in terms of grants and any other thing else. So another big major thing is that when you look in terms of the MPRA, Municipal Property Rates Act, and implementation thereof within the municipality, those now houses, because they're no longer business activities, their values and the like, it's been impacted upon. So it impacts on the municipality's ability to increase insofar as their rates are concerned. The matter around the social labor plans and the CSI is also going to be impacted upon. Environmental considerations, I think Nkabinde has alluded to, whereby access to resources is going to be to natural resources rather is going to be a challenge. The land use patterns and the changes thereof. The derelict and abandoned mines and ownerless mine, I think, has been alluded to in one of the presentations, which said that it's really a challenge for the municipality because they've been developed into havens for criminal activities. That's a challenge. In our locality as well, we've got illegal mining happening right on the doorstep of the homes here. Like I said, when you go into the old Kwaguka, Akaville, Linville area there's just a mine operating on the right on the doorstep of the communities. In Kuala Lumpur as well, the South 32 Siriti now as well, there's the challenges, some of the challenges that we are facing. Yes, indeed, there's a bit of work that is underway in lieu of that. Remember, we have taken the energy mix into consideration, and we've got policies that talks to the small-scale embedded generation, and that as well is dependent on the affordability of communities. Bulk of our consumers are residential, which is about 85% thereof. So we are in the 85%, the 90% of them cannot afford the services. So that's the impact that we are having. And when you look in terms of just your simple solar panels and the like, in terms of a 2 kVA, a 5 kVA installation, it's quite a lot of money for some people that are not working, that have been laid off, So those are some of the considerations that we're looking at. Currently, we have got a policy on SSSG. We are implementing it. Our tariffs have been approved by NERS and implemented by council. We've got about 20 of them across all the different consumer profiles within the municipality. About 20 of them with some applications that are pending. Okay. So, however, what is it that we are doing then? As work underway, exploration of additional water supply schemes, like we are engaging with Highford in terms of the raw water supply there. We are engaging with the transalloys ferrometals and as well as Highford Industrial Park to look into a recycling of the effluent that we get from one of our major treatment facilities, so that we can take the potable water and relocate it for human consumption and give them the recycled effluent at proper good qualities for their process operations in their industries. We have just as a municipality approved and adopted a water conservation, water demand management strategy in lieu of ensuring that the conduct and the behavior of water consumers could be able to change. We are all aware, as in terms of what has happened in Cape Town, we want to bring the same thing in here to say that people need to then be full aware, as in terms of their responsibility towards water and their conduct towards water water. We were engaging with the Glencoe mine, but however, we still need to increase their abstraction and as well as their delivery into the municipal system. In terms of energy mix exploration, we have had quite a number of several presentations, which some of them are worthy, some of them can be able to be implemented. However, there are some challenges that are seated with it. First and foremost, is about the tariff and about the cost of that particular technology. From our point of view, we say that we need to re-industrialize and localize the manufacturing, the protection, the programming of whatever is coming into our locality in order to help absorb those skills that have been lost in the mining activity or in the energy generation facilities there. So we're looking at waste to energy. I hope that Nkabine has alluded to it. We are at an advanced stage. We are now conducting some of the constraint studies so far as EIAs, insofar as water use license is concerned. Solar, magnetron energy, gravity energy, and as well as energy storage facilities. The hydrotrack that I heard some of the panelists have referred to as well. We are also exploring that in terms of the people coming and doing the presentation. But unfortunately, the type of funding that needs to be coming in, that's where the challenge is. We've got a problem with that. Hence, we're saying that there's got to be a legislative framework and an environment that allows for that to happen, especially with assistance from the National Treasury there. Awareness and then awareness.
Just a minute, can I ask you to quickly wrap up, because we would like 1 or 2 questions, please, before we have to close this webinar.
It's okay. I think my last one is in terms of the advocacy of the advocacy and awareness campaigns insofar as enabling legislation and framework is concerned to all stakeholders, interested and affected parties. Okay, and then as well as their responsibility towards that, how do they then respond to that? We have spoken about reskilling and training of the workforce, proper rehabilitation of mines. I think I'm covered from that. But however, safe to say that there are some of this initiative needs to have a national government intervention in terms of seeking and requesting resources from developed countries, because that's where the assistance coming in. And that assistance should be in kind and form, but mainly in the grant funding and also in donor funding. And the conduction of the requisite studies in order to check for the viability and feasibility of implementation of this. Localization and industrialization of local companies, quite critical as well. Thank you so very much. I much appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Lalaka, for talking really at a clip. I'm going to allow Peter, she's the only hand that's up at the moment, to ask a question. And then I'm going to, yeah, we're running sort of out of time. I'm going to go back to the other two panelists for final comments, perhaps responding to inputs from Mr. Lalaka and then addressing whatever question Peter is going to put to the panel. Peter, over to you.
Thanks. I'm Peter Walthy and working independently and with tips and Naledi and groundwork, but I haven't got a question. Actually, I want to make a comment. Is that okay?
Absolutely fine. Go ahead.
It's really, thank you everybody who has contributed and just to hear your thoughts and particularly to hear from the local side from Mr. Lalaka and Mr. Nkabini. And I suppose I have a couple of things that I want to put on the table that won't be able to be dealt with right now. We're quite late. But the topic is about unpacking the just transition and what is coming across. And I guess it was partly Mr. Nkabindi's question to you, Carla. You know, to the really interesting hearing all the projects, but to what extent the municipality have been engaged with. And I'm pretty sure you have, but it's how do we ensure these partnerships, as you were talking about, are actually happening in practice? I mean, we attend lots of meetings, webinars, and we all talk about the bottom up, hearing voices and alignment. I think the local government, and I think Mr. Lalaka touched on it at the end about, you know, national government and how everything aligns, not just within the 3 spheres of government. And if you include district, it's almost like 4. I know they're local, but they're all the other stakeholders. And when we started the UK PAC project, we talked about what's everyone doing, how do we synchronize and not duplicate. And I suppose my question, which I'm not asking for an answer because it's to myself as much, is how do we move forward actually? Because I feel we're all saying similar things, but there seems to be a disconnect between the will and the intention and all the plans and all the stakeholders, and something holds us back. And I don't want to end on a negative note. I want to recognize the amazing work that is happening out there. But we need to scale up. We need to, we're all, you know, really keen. And I'm actually in Mpumalanga as we speak, and I did a visit this morning and around mines, and I feel, yeah, quite almost emotional about the air quality and what you see in this space. So yeah, sorry, I went on a bit long, and we're getting late.
Thank you, Peter. I think all valid comments. Carla, I know you need to drop off. Do you want to have a quick comment? Because there's another hand that I just want to give an opportunity to, but maybe if you just want to give a 1 minute or half a minute or whatever response.
I'll give a very quick response. We actually had the exact same discussion with the provincial government yesterday, and we're actually meeting for a 3-day session next week, because it actually should have happened. We were scheduling it for the 27th of March, 2020. So it was the actual day that they announced lockdown. So it's way overdue. So yesterday when I was actually in Secunda, I said to the guys, listen, when are we going to do this? And they said, right, Monday. So we talking. There's wonderful webinars, but we actually need to write down a pathway with KPIs on that pathway, and who is the people that we need to sit down with and actually have proper work with underlying workshops where we actually not just discussing, but actually coming up with plans, with timelines, with so just to say that we're sitting with from Monday to Wednesday next week. We will be sitting in Mambela and discussing this. The engagement I've had with municipalities has not been extensive, but they have been included in all the discussions that we've had. So they are notified of what is in the pipeline. But yeah, once again, we actually need to sit and get our hands dirty and actually do these projects and stop conceptualizing and actually start doing. Yeah.
So Galo, I'm going to also provide you an opportunity to respond, but Zakhele, do you quickly just want to provide your input and question, and then I'm going to give a final opportunity to Galo, and then we must wrap up.
Thank you very much. Okay, my question is quite short and it's directed to Galo. So just to give a bit of background, so we know that the coal mines and power stations in Mpumalanga, most of them are reaching their end of life, and actually renewing them is going to be costly. So that is part of the just transition. This is something that was going to happen over time. My question is, as tips, have you guys done a study at looking at the job losses that is going to result from the closure of these coal mines? And how are we going to recreate those jobs through upskilling or reskilling? So is there a study that you have done, and can you share maybe numbers if that has been done? Or yeah, so that is my question. Hope it makes sense.
Galo, over to you.
Great, thanks. Thanks everyone. Yeah, as a way of closing from me, I'll try and say just a couple of things. First, yes, we've been doing a lot of work looking at the implication of the closures of the power plants and the mines. Happy to share some of that work, and we're certainly not the only one who've done work on that. There's also, of course, Eskom's doing a lot of very localized work at their power station. Happy to share all of that separately, all the work that we've been doing. We're also not doing a lot more work on new opportunities and the employment creation. That is things that we've started to unpack a lot more. We don't have numbers yet on that, but certainly looking at it. And then it's just two points, just to maybe help with some of the projects that are being mentioned. One is that I mentioned very briefly that there were climate envoys in the country last week. There's commitments being made to pour a lot of money into the country. The three areas that have been prioritized are the energy transition in Mpumalanga, so kind of really the closure of the power stations and the mines and what we do about it. Then it's green hydrogen and it's electric mobility. So if you have any project that fall into that, you can get in contact with me. I'm part of the team that's working to basically come up with what we're going to ask those people and how much money we're going to ask them. So literally, if you have ideas and things you think climate finance from our partners in Europe and the US can finance in the UK, then really that would please get in touch, because I can relay that as well. And then another one is just for the municipality as well, to make sure that they have a voice, is that there's a big process coming from next year around IKI, which is a German ministry around just transition that's quite localized in Mpumalanga and some of the municipality that's starting, which is going to be a long-term process. And just want to make sure that the municipalities have a big voice in the design of that. So really, GIZ with Green Cape and TIPS are the lead of that initiative, with a few other partners, and just want to make sure that we have the right voices in the room. So you can maybe expect some emails with regard to that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I feel a bit of pressure because I'm looking at this panel, so much, great, conversation, great inputs. I feel like I'm just gonna mess it up, but let me not try to get too much into it, because I'm supposed to close. What I need to be doing is appreciating the speakers, appreciating everyone who has made inputs into this webinar, And also thank you to the colleagues who have stayed in the webinar and who've been very interactive with the conversation of the day. I truly believe that we are going somewhere with the conversation, and looking at the presentations that have been made today, this morning, it does look like, obviously, no one is folding arms. Everyone is aware that something must be done, something is already taking place, and there need to be strategic thinking and strategic response to what is currently taking place in terms of the just transition. So, colleagues, I would like to really thank you very much, Louise and the team, Lauren, and the other speakers who are on the panel as well. Thank you for making the time, and thank you for the very valuable inputs and comments and discussion. It's safe to say from my side where I'm sitting is that I have learned quite a lot from the discussion. I truly believe that all of us in this meeting also have gained quite a lot, and I'm hoping that we could get more municipalities to really in Mpumalanga come in and share their experiences. Maybe what I'm actually saying is that maybe this is not the end of it, because I really truly think we need to have more municipalities coming in. We need to have more municipalities crying if they need help, crying for help, so that we know exactly where the situation, where the issues and challenges are in terms of the municipalities, which municipalities are far ahead in terms of the process, and which municipalities need our support in terms of being hands-on or even at advisory level. So, colleagues, let me not take much time, but to really appreciate you for the session, really appreciate tips, really appreciate adopt the municipality Emalahleni and others that have presented. Sorry, colleagues, if I'm not calling out your name from the organization. I was getting a bit of distraction from the call, from the other official calls. But please know that from the bottom of my heart, I'm really thankful for this session. And thank you very much, everyone. May you have a very good afternoon. Please be safe, and over to you.